Welcome to the round table, everyone. I hope today has found you in good vibrations. And today on the round table, we are talking about belief. And to join us on the round table, we have Connie. Welcome, Connie. I'm so glad you joined us.
Thank you. It is very nice to be here.
Cool. And we have our brother Donny. How you going, Echo Mike?
Not too bad
Not,
today.
not too bad today. And we got Polly. Hey, Polly. I'm glad you could join us.
Hello, happy day, Jojo.
And our beautiful Sharon. How are you today, Sharon?
Oh, thank you. I'm doing great and looking forward to this wonderful roundtable.
Okay, so as I said, this week's topic is belief. Is it a knowing? Is it pre-constructed? Fabricated, perhaps? A tool for awareness and enlightenment? Is there such a thing as no belief? Where and when did it come about, belief? Was it given to us? Is it a trick for control? And what power does it hold? So, okay, let's get into this belief. Anyone want to take it first?
I would like to open up with saying that belief is the enemy, the master disguise of.
You're breaking up, Polly.
Belief is the enemy. That I just go with that.
Belief can be an enemy, depending on true, Polly. If belief carries some passion, and if that passion's fiery enough, people go to war over belief. So it can be bad.
Even though it might not be truth.
Exactly. That's what we're going to discuss today. What's the basis of belief? Like, it obviously has a place. Do we abuse that place? Do we overuse it? Do we use it wrong by doing what you said, Polly? It's using it as a negative thing. It can be a good thing too. It can bring about miracles.
Yeah, because belief is very strongly tied to placebo effects, in my opinion. If you believe something to the point where then it can actually be known.
Yep. All right, so we virtually got straight into what power does belief hold here before we got into anything else, whether it's real or not, or it's a fabrication of our mind. So for it to hold power, it's got to have emotions, like I said, the passion that drives it. And it's kind of a mental thing, but it's also a physical thing where your heart, because some people believe totally with their heart and their spirit and their mind, their whole entire thing.
Yes. So I was thinking about there's kind of different kinds of belief, and to me, like huh? Say that again. I didn't hear you. I'm sorry, Donnie. Oh, I thought he said something.
No, it's just Donnie's background noise. Keep going, Connie.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. But like things I learned in school, I believe that 2 + 2 = 4, but I don't have any passion really attached to that because it's a different kind of knowledge. But if it's a belief that is in my heart or my soul or spirit, my internal beliefs, those have passion with them. Does that make sense?
Yep. And you know what? I'm bad. I'm bad. I forgot to say that when Jules was here, Jules wants to say something. I'm so sorry, Jules. I'm half ahead today. Come on.
Pleasure to be here. Greetings, everybody. Just listening to your opening statement, Luna, I have a couple of things that I believe in. Minutes to get my bullet points out. I'm speaking for myself, but I think that belief is a personal moral compass. It's a way of life, believing in the unknown or a connection to higher self. And ultimately, what I think belief is, it's a biased opinion that brings personal truth to knowing and possible speculation.
Wow, Jules.
Is a belief's personality individual?
Did you say is belief personality? Is it a personality? Is that what you just said?
I asked if a belief's personality has influence on the individual. So let's say an individual has a certain, like what we'll call formidable beliefs, and then they come across a piece of information that corresponds with those formidable beliefs. That now makes those beliefs more true / knowing to that person.
Wow. So maybe we should go this. Look, we're stumped already. Remember when I said truth is silence? Maybe we should go to how does belief come about? Where does it come from? Is it given to us? Is it or because there's a difference.
I agree. Yeah, I think belief is actually given to us. It's given to us until we're able to discern the difference between belief and knowing.
Right. What about the random thing where a little kid will come up and go, I just believe this, and everyone's like, no, that's your imagination, and they grow up going, no, I just believe this, I just believe that. No one actually gave it to them. But that would be more of a knowing, eh?
Yeah.
It sounds more like a knowing for sure. Like there's no explanation on knowing, but the knowing doesn't need an explanation because it feels
It's solid. Yeah. Well, I've noticed the difference between a knowing and a belief. So a belief, really, it should never be too solid because it should be ready to change as you grow and learn. Because one day you could believe one thing, like you could believe in Santa when you're a kid, and then you grow up and you don't believe in Santa anymore. So I feel it shouldn't be rigid. It should be a fluid thing, belief, as opposed to knowing, which is solid and strong and comes from somewhere we can't even access sometimes.
So in a way, what you said there, Luna, was like belief can be like a sort of protective blanket to lies.
Yeah, if you put it that way.
And for someone who really can't handle gray, there's sometimes in our lives where we're clinging on by bloody fingertips to the things that we know, that we know, that we know, because everything else around us has just fallen apart like a house of cards. So sometimes people need to be rigid for a time, and then slowly, as they, rebuild their anchoring point, then they can open up again to gray areas. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. I think during these times especially, I think that's well said that because we're in my humble opinion, I think we're constantly confronted with information that's probably tackling or attacking or brushing up against what we thought was a preconceived sort of view of things. And it's forcing us, and you're right, in our own time to let go of something and say, well, I may not like this, but it's no longer true. And I have to let this go. Yeah, you're right, Connie. Well said.
I love that. It's like belief is like something that you can choose, whereas knowing is something that you can't choose. Like knowing something is like it's empirical. You cannot use it. You can't. There's no question to counteract it. Whereas belief can be like manipulated and it's malleable.
Yes, it is malleable.
I was thinking about that scene in the Matrix in the first Matrix where the guy, the trader guy, who said he really liked living in the pretend place because the steak was good, but he asked them to put him back to sleep. So what they ended up doing was killing him.
That's the whole ignorance is bliss thing.
Exactly. But that really is sort of about belief and knowing, right?
I
Like,
agree. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
I
the
agree.
the ignorance is bliss analogy, almost a one-to-one allegory believing in.
So a belief can come about when it becomes a knowing, because it can go the opposite way. You can tell someone this is true, they don't believe it, and one day they'll believe it and then it'll become a knowing. Do you reckon that's how it works?
Belief is the mental act, condition, or habit of placing trust or confidence in another.
Yeah,
Good word,
yeah,
trust.
yeah.
mm,
Wow.
Jules, could you repeat that one more time? I didn't quite catch the whole thing.
Belief, the mental act, condition, or habit of placing trust or confidence in another.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Belief also requires you to step outside the box of needing to know something.
True.
Belief does not require knowing, but knowing does not require belief.
Mental acceptance of the conviction in truth, actuality, or validity. I'm struggling with this word. Validity.
Validity. Yes, of course.
Validity,
Validity
fluidity.
is just the honest way of saying honesty.
Wow, we got some words coming out here.
And something believed or accepted as true, especially a particular tenet or a body of tenets accepted by a group of persons.
Love it.
So we've seen in history how belief can be used as a tool for control.
Yes.
But wouldn't we like to believe that once belief was given to us to help us grow and heal?
I would love to believe that, Luna.
I think we all would, Polly.
Given to us as a tool, but I honestly think that belief was given to us as a tool to hide the actual fact, the knowing. You can believe this, but we all know that.
Mm.
And so belief requires a little bit of, belief requires way more trust than knowing does. Knowing doesn't need honesty because knowing is inherently honest.
Yep, yep. Wow.
but I think knowing it requires you to be self-sufficient and much more responsible for your actions. In other words, when you know something, it's like if you go back to the guy with the Matrix, if he was really actualized, he would never have asked those guys to put him back to sleep. It's ridiculous. The notion of it, once you're awake, you're awake. You can't go backwards. But he didn't want to be accountable. He didn't want to be responsible anymore. So I'm wondering if belief and trust and then knowing it's actually steps in our or steps in our growth. It doesn't have to just be spiritual stuff, but steps in our growth. So like a child, in some ways, we believe or hope or trust that something's going to be okay. And then as we become more self-actualized and more responsible for our actions, and we know what we put out, we get back, and we start going into knowing.
Yeah, you're right. So the less we believe, the more we know.
Yeah. And be okay with it. Like it's okay. It's not freaking us out.
Yeah, that's key too. Because a lot of the beliefs that people have inherently trained in the system is not based on any sort of security. It's just a belief that there's no security required with beliefs. But knowing something, even if it's contrary to your beliefs, also requires the same amount or the same lack of belief, I guess you could say.
But I mean, I would disagree a little bit on the security thing. I think that for me, having a belief gave me security. What forced me to grow up was getting into knowing, because there's no more security. There's a confidence or there's a kicking of my butt, but that's not necessarily security.
Right. But confidence suspends your beliefs.
Yes. Like, I was whining last week in my head, and I was doing meditation, and the message I got back was stop whining. We're expecting a little bit more from you at this moment in time, sweetheart. Let's step up the game here.
I get that all the time.
Did it really say sweetheart?
Sure. Why not?
Brilliant.
So would I be right in saying that belief is like an external energy that comes in, and knowing would be the internal energy that goes out? I should have named this.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Belief is external energy.
That comes
It's akin to when you say a certain person's beliefs are a direct result of their environment.
So since we're talking about energy, where does consciousness play in this?
I think that's the part that determines whether the energy's coming in or out. It monitors.
Well, doesn't consciousness kind of kick your butt to start getting into knowing rather than believing? Like,
This is where
I
sorry.
think I work the opposite way. I formed my beliefs like when I was 17, really formed like this totally don't care what anyone else thinks. These are my core beliefs. And that helped me have a foundation to open up all kinds of doors to consider how those pieces fit together with my little bit of knowledge, what I believe in my gut.
So you believe that you know.
I just kind of work the opposite way, I think, almost. Maybe not.
I think that what we're discovering here is that there is a distinction between belief and knowing that are reliant on each other. The belief can't exist without a wanting to know. And usually the belief guides us into the knowing. The belief will start out maybe with a couple of ends that need tie, but at the end of the day, tie up the ends, that's what we know.
Wow, this is actually more in depth than what I thought it would be, and I'm actually
really
learning
is.
stuff here. Yeah, because I'm asking
These
myself.
are things, these are words we take for granted.
Yep. Now I'm
And
asking.
when we really look at them and examine them, they seem to be very, very personal.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
we've never really thought about thinking. We've not thought about our beliefs because we just believe them.
Well,
I
Even when
think
they're
you're
challenged.
right. I
Still
think you're
believe
so
that.
right, Connie.
It's a very good follow-up to last week's talk about truth.
Yeah, I agree too.
Totally, because truth, if you know the truth, then you're knowing, and belief, as it compares to the truth side by side, is where we were saying about how some people can have a different truth than others, and that truth that is different from other truth is more closely related to belief, in my opinion, than say knowing. If we know something, then everybody thing, whereas everybody can have different beliefs on why it is we know that.
But I can't validate my internal knowing. There is no objective validation to it. I just know it. I don't know how I know it. I just do.
But
And no one's going to accept that. And so, oh, well.
So you believe that you know it.
No, I know it. Okay, I'm going to stop. I'm going to listen.
no, I was
No,
going to go
no,
there.
you're doing great. Don't
Yeah.
disappear. You're awesome.
I was actually going to go there, Connie, I was going to go that exactly what you just said. So you do. Everyone does great here. There's no papers for this, by the way. it comes from your heart and soul. So,
Yes.
Yeah, it's not peer reviewed.
And you're bringing up some really great points. So keep going.
Well,
I think I'm done.
I think I'm
we
done.
were talking about energy and how you know when you empirically believe something. For me, it's that gut reaction, that gut instinct. That's energy.
Yeah, I feel that if we're being told something, someone's saying, believe me, you check your energy, right? Say someone comes in and goes, so and so just stole the plants out of your yard. And you look at them, and at first you'll go, do I believe that? And you'll check yourself in that second.
Right.
And then you'll go outside and look at the yard to see if your plants are missing. But in that second, you'll check your gut feeling to see if that person that's telling you to believe what they're saying is real. Wow. So is belief really something here, a trick to stuff us up?
Me.
Well, so far it's skating along the edges of other things that are true and solid, and it's transparency now that if you're not careful with belief, it can be a bit destructive, like Polly said. We do,
Yes.
and we've had a late guest, Naysay's come to the table. If I don't know if he wants to talk or whether he's just listening, but you're quite welcome to jump in, Naysay. So in religion, I didn't want to bring up religion, but religion really pushes.
I'm muted because I'm at Valley Fair. It is really lovely.
Okay. So yeah, what I was saying, do you think religion pushes belief as a tool of control?
Yes.
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 Yeah.
100%, yes.
Yes. And is there anywhere that?
In fact, I would say I would go even further and say that religion has used belief and blurred it, the meaning of the word knowing.
Yeah. So
I would agree with that.
And I use the word blur in a very blanket statement, because it could be construed that religion has used the tool of belief as a weapon, but it could also be taken in another way where religion uses the tool of belief to build like something positive. Because religion requires belief, then it does anything.
So wouldn't knowing be the true way to go if religion?
You would think so. Yeah.
Religion relies on belief, and we all got knowing that's untainted. It seems practical.
You would think so, but it's ironic that none of the religions offer any sort of proof that is, I guess you could say, knowable. It's all whether or not you want to believe it. It's a choice. Belief is a choice.
Belief.
Whereas knowing, not a choice.
I mean, tying in with the truth last week and the concept of belief and believing, it's happening right now. I mean, they are controlling what they want us to believe with that talk of religion.
You're right, Jules. Yep, totally right.
I mean, our history, all those ancient artifacts that are mysteriously coming up that are predating what their known existence. That's truth. But they're covering it up, and we can't believe and have a belief that this is how modern society is. All the control and people being
Interesting how it's interesting how simple knowledge can destroy a belief.
having the truth of knowledge will destroy an entire belief system.
I wonder if some of this, I mean, Luna, you brought up a very good point. Has this always been a tool? I'm wondering if during this last 100 years, they took words that were really cherished and they hijacked them
Yes.
and they changed the meaning and they've hijacked everything. They've hijacked the humanness. They've hijacked our relationships with our kids and families.
Yes.
They've hijacked our relationships with society, and words that were maybe somewhat harmless, like belief. I mean, I never saw it as a word to be afraid of. I didn't sign up for, I think at a very young age, I left the Catholic Church. I was 18 and I was never coming back. I thought this place is goofy and I just couldn't sign up for their crap anymore. And so I walked out, but that was my choice. But it also gave me a good spiritual foundation for me to leap off of
Yes.
and go grow.
Yeah.
So it wasn't all bad. And so I see some of these words in the olden days as steps of growth, whereas now it seems like so many of them have been, as I said, hijacked and
Cheapened.
weaponized.
When I hear you say hijack, the word that goes through my mind is cheapened. Things
Yes.
that were valuable, that made us human, they have chipped away at it till it's meaningless almost. Like it means nothing. Like, yes, we're going to give 2-year-olds this jab. What? Why would you take your child to get this? Like, don't you read? It's just like, I can't explain it, but everything that is rich, that makes our lives rich, love, caring, being there for one another, understanding and listening to one another. It's all
Compassion.
just, yes. Oh, passion now is you better settle, or you said compassion, and I think passion. You better lower your
Both.
voice, or we're calling security. Well, go ahead and call security. I'm allowed to raise my voice if I want to.
Yeah, freedom, what freedom
Yeah.
really means.
And they
Yes,
act real alarmed, like there's someone here losing their shit. Nobody's here losing anything. I'm just getting a little upset, so I'm raising my voice. That's what
Right.
people do.
yeah. So our humanity has yes, I
We're all
agree.
just supposed to walk around like zombies looking at our phone screens. Avoid eye contact and mind your business.
I actually think it's more dire than that. I feel like they just want us not to be here anymore. I feel
Well,
I
like
of
don't
course.
believe a word they say.
I don't believe a word they say, but I feel like what they're doing is to our detriment. So that's my belief system about them, and I kind of feel like, all right, well, that means I'm free to go do what I want to do.
Exactly. What are you going to do? Kill me? They've already
Exactly.
said that's
Well,
what they're going to do. So, okay.
exactly.
The golden
Yeah.
bullet.
No, it is the golden bullet. Did you say the golden bullet?
Yeah,
it
the
is
golden bullet.
Yeah,
Golden
absolutely.
ticket or something. Some
Yes.
people believe it's the
Willy
golden
Wonka.
ticket. Other people believe it's the golden bullet. Depends which side you're talking to. My son
Other
thinks
people
I'm.
believe it's a silver bullet.
Oh.
Depends what kind of creature you are.
Yeah, either one.
I believe it's a lead aspirate.
What was that, bro?
I
Yeah.
believe it's a lead aspirate.
Lead. I was listening to you yarning there, and I kind of recognise that belief has emotion. Without emotion, it's knowing. That's how it looked to me while the energy was flying around. It's like when you know something, there is no emotion. It's like when we all go silent when someone says the truth. When you know something, it just pours out of you, and there's no emotion attached to it. You don't go, hew, 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 I know it. You just know it, right? With belief, belief has emotions. I believe.
Here's an example.
That's
So-
a great example.
Sitting here, I can tell you all that I did not eat over half of this plate of funnel cake. and you all could come to the belief of knowing me that I'm telling you the truth. However, with my daughter standing here next to me and seeing most of the funnel cake gone, she knows. So until we look at the data and go further beyond our belief to make sure that we what it is.
Got me
Yep.
there, that's all.
Yeah, it's almost like in that way, it's almost like belief is the sort of front door that if you want to open it, you can know.
But it's also risky.
There is nothing that will shatter belief like the truth.
Like knowing.
You also got to be open-minded.
You got to be open-minded. The whisper in the background there. Well,
I love it.
I don't know if someone is standing there going, yelling emotionally. Excuse me. Believe me, believe me. Believe me. And then you got someone going, real calm. Look, I know it's right. I know it's right. Who are you going to believe? You're going to believe the calm person more than the ironic believer that's emotionally yelling at you. And again, you check that inner knowing. So even if I said to you, I know this, and Jules said, I believe this, you would all have to still check your inner knowing to see which one of us is telling the truth.
Yeah, but you don't want to be a know-it-all.
You don't want to be a know-it-all.
Yes, I do.
I don't think
The
we
more,
can ever know
the
it all.
more I know, the less I know.
I know everything. I just have terrible recall.
I like that one. So what about if you don't believe anything? Say you don't have any beliefs and you just know. What would that look like?
I don't think you can
You
have
would be
knowing
very
without
smart.
belief. Because you have to have a point of reference for that knowing, that internal knowing. You have to have a point of reference to say, oh, this is knowing, which would be your beliefs.
But beliefs don't require a point of reference. Knowing, however, does, or else it falls flat on its face.
Yeah, but knowing you also need to be
Beliefs
open-minded as
require
well.
a frame of reference too, or we wouldn't be able to exchange one belief for another. We could say, oh yeah, my mom and dad taught me that, so we have to recognize it's not something I naturally formed. I was taught this, and now I've met people who believe this, and I think I lean more towards that makes sense with my own inner knowing. So I'll incorporate that belief because it fits.
But belief is an influence that has been provided from an outside source.
That's what I
Whereas
just said.
knowing won't come from an outside source because knowing is actually there already in the first place.
Yeah, but
And
to
we've
recognize
evolved
it,
around that.
you got to recognize, How do you do that? How do you recognize
Because it comes
this
out of you.
awareness?
That's a good question.
It comes out of you.
Recognizing whether or not you know something or not is very blurry with the idea of belief in itself.
I guess
I
it's
really
so.
like
Go ahead, and I say.
I really like the story about the husband and the wife are cooking together. And they're
Naysa,
making
you're
a
yelling. You can talk a little quieter. You're really talking loud. Go ahead, sorry.
So this husband and wife were making roast, and the wife cuts both end of the roast off and sets it on the side of the roast. The husband says, "Why did you do that?" She said, "Well, that's what my mother did all the time." And he said, "Well, why did she do that?" And she's like, I don't know. So she called her mother and said, Mom, why is it every time you make a roast, you cut the ends off and put them on the side? And she said, that's because the pan was so small, it's the only way the roast would fit in the pan. So we witness these things that our parents do, and we mimic them, whether it be something we witness or something that they tell us, and we take it as a truth and continue to pass it on without finding out one way or the other.
How do you know?
I mean, how do you know what do you mean, Polly?
Well, that basically dissolves any belief that anyone can ever come to me and say that they have this. I can just ask, how do you know?
You mean how do you know you know?
Like, yeah. How do you know that you don't? How do you know that you're 100% right and there's no possibility of being wrong, which is what knowing is?
I disagree
I get the gut feeling.
about
Yeah.
right and
A
wrong.
gut feeling is definitely a validation for sure. I would definitely believe my gut before I believe anything that comes out of anybody's mouth. But
Yeah.
how do you distinguish? Like, it's such an innocent question. How do you know? If you can't answer how you know, then you're really just technically disbelieving something.
Not really. If you just know and you can't say how you know, it's more valid than a
That's
belief, because a belief you can go, oh, so-and-so told me this, or I saw that, or this is how I grew up. So it was grafted onto you, whereas the knowing's like, I don't know, it's just coming from the core of my very essence.
Okay, well, let me ask you this question then. If you believe something, then how do you know? Like, because
Because your knowing tells you that it's a
a
belief.
belief doesn't require knowing, yet knowing requires a suspension of, even if, well, especially if your beliefs contradict what it knowing slapping.
So it's like, I don't believe I know, it's I know I know.
Well,
You know,
exactly.
didn't we have a brief discussion
Yes.
that we actually related it to something that either happened to us or we actually have proof? So as we grow as beings, we have experiences. Like for instance, there's certain things you could do. You know, if you have a headache and you take some aspirin and it usually takes care of it, you know that that's probably a good thing to do. You're not going to be drinking more caffeine, maybe. In other words, there's enough experience to some of the things you know because of what you did in the past that you have a knowing. And then I think that helps you build confidence in your knowing. And I think as we grow in our spiritual path, another for instance, like when your higher self or creator kind of makes it clear that it doesn't really want you going down a certain path and it'll hit you with its spiritual 2x4, after a while you kind of know not to do something because in the past that didn't work out so well. So there's that knowing. And I think that's
Yeah.
part of being responsible, growing,
Yeah.
and having the confidence to not even have to argue about knowing. Like, I don't
Right.
have to defend knowing to any of you guys because you have your own knowing.
But
Exactly.
Mine comes from a million years on this planet, you know, I'm being facetious, being hit with a spiritual 2x4 a whole bunch of times and kind of thinking, you know, there's a couple things here I know, and I'm just going to kind of trust on that one.
Sharon, first of all, you don't look a day older than 500,000.
Thank you.
Second of all, doesn't the suspension of belief aid in somebody coming to a known truth? You have to suspend your, like that whole saying, suspend your belief. Like if you suspend your belief, you're seeing the truth.
I don't think I ever. Okay, when it comes to knowing, when I first joined tonight, I was looking at belief as knowing. So let me just skip over to knowing. I don't, at this point, question the whole knowing thing anymore. I question where I am, and if it's a new knowing, I do question that personally, but I have a lot more confidence in where I am as a person about this kind of thing. And I don't wishy-washy about belief and all those other words. Like, I don't worry about that at this point.
Yeah.
I'm more interested in being grounded in the knowing, and if I have to look at something, I will. If enough evidence comes up and I think, you know what, I say to myself, you're really going down a bad path here, and there's some new information or new evidence, you may need to, course correct, self-sort course correct, then I'll do that. But
right. So would you say that, like, based on what you just said there, that having beliefs would actually make it harder to some?
Having beliefs would be harder.
Having like let's say an abundance of beliefs, they would actually prevent you in.
You keep breaking up.
You went away. I didn't get to hear the rest.
Say it one more time.
Okay, my bad. That the idea is the more beliefs you have, the less easy it is for you to know.
You keep dropping off at the good juicy part.
He said to know something.
Okay.
But now I forget the first part.
But now it's confusing me. I mean, here's the deal. When a conversation starts to confuse me, it's getting too technical. And then it's kind of like, I don't complex it any more than I need to. Life is already so complex right now.
My brain hurts.
Oh, this is funny.
Before it got really deep and juicy, when Luna was finishing up, genetic memory has a lot to do with it as far as people's beliefs. I mean,
That's
Luna alone.
That's where I'm going next.
Her spiritual knowledge, some of that is genetic, but it's also her core beliefs.
Yep. That's where I was going next, actually, to throw a different spanner in the works. Is can these beliefs be carried through other lives? And even Polly was picking up on it because he said Sharon's like 150,000 years old, which
exactly.
So our spirits are telling us to look that way because it's been mentioned twice. Thank you, Jules. And I'll leave it with you, Jules. You reckon they can be carried over? And like you said, the DNA memory is a part of it. We all have that DNA memory. Can beliefs be carried through that? Is a knowing carried through that? I'll leave it with you, Jules.
Leave it to me, Mike. Squirrel. I think that those memories are carried over. They do impact your decision making. And then when the decision is made, you know in your gut with that energy, and it becomes your belief. I don't personally seek validation for what I believe. If I'm meant to know, it'll eventually find me, or it will surface, or it will just make itself appear to me. And then I'll reevaluate it. And if I have to change my opinion based on my beliefs, then I accept challenge, I adapt, and I go on. That's why when I started, one of my things, what I thought belief was a personal moral compass. Because my beliefs are different, but a lot of my beliefs potentially could be genetic memory.
Yeah. Well,
one of my favorite sayings that belief is basically the excuse for me not knowing something. but I'm okay not knowing everything. So the things that I don't know, and until somebody basically ruins those beliefs with some kind of information that allows me to know that I was wrong or ignorant, then until then, belief is harmless.
And I keep going back to one of my bullet points that it's a biased opinion that brings personal truth of knowing and possible speculation.
Can you say that in another way, Jules?
I'm lost.
I mean, a biased opinion, biased in the sense that what you're believing is what you believe. Others will and often do view it different. That's why I say belief is a biased opinion.
And
What
yeah, I
you
think
believe, what you
the first
believe.
follower of a belief is the most impactful, most influential. The first follower, more influential than the person who originally in the first place. But like, okay, I'll put it a different way. The first person to validate a belief is usually the first person to carry that belief. Like, the belief itself comes from a person, but it takes another person for that belief to carry on to other people's, if that makes sense.
So, in other words, beliefs need to have an audience, a captured audience.
Whereas
Yep.
knowing doesn't. Exactly.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Or a following, or a fan club, or whatever you want to say. Whereas knowing, like you said, because I think you're right. Like, I don't care if people don't sign up for what I think or know, right, for what I know. I don't care. I don't care. If that's not your experience, that's cool. And your knowing of the things in your universe, it's none of my business either. Like if you have knowings about things or even beliefs, I can honor that because that's your universe, that's your experience.
So then, Sharon, am I hearing you say that really truth is relative? What I believe may not be what you believe, may not be, but it's all good, or just it is what it is. Do you believe there's an absolute truth, or there is no such thing?
I don't think so. I don't think there is an absolute truth. Not that I know of. Maybe God does, right? Or creator or whoever runs the show, they might have a lot more they have a lot more information than I have.
Are you
But
saying you don't believe in truth?
I at this point no.
How can you
After
know?
our conversation last week, why would I?
Yeah, what truth?
I did a long time ago. I don't anymore. I think it's actually been so hijacked, so messed with, so turned inside out, upside down. No, I don't. I don't. And that's the difference between truth and knowing. Knowing, I don't give a crap what the pretendency or all the other puppets do or say. You can't take the knowing that's inside of me
No, you
because
can't touch that.
that's my journey that I took, that I paid the price for. I
Amen.
paid the price of admission to come here and work the deal, and I worked it, and they
That's how
can't
you
touch it.
know.
It's
Right.
exactly correct. But the truth, what the hell's that at this point? That's what I mean when we say things have been so hijacked, and it's so important right now that we know who we are in the middle of this storm, because that is our compass. Our compass is knowing who we are.
As well as who we are in relation to whatever community we've attached ourselves to.
Correct.
Because this is my only community. Discord.
Yeah.
I'm on no social media. I hate it. This is my family. You're my people that
Right.
I can talk to and just be myself.
Correct. That's been hijacked now. I mean, so here we are. We go back to the bank story. 3 people out of what, 10 or 11 have no mask on. That's my community.
Right.
Oh, bada bing, bada boom.
Yep. Easier and easier.
What about what about the people? What about when you know something and you don't believe it?
What do you mean? Give us an example, please.
You know something and you don't believe it. Oh, now you got
How
me.
can you know something but don't believe it? You mean you actually saw something and there's something in your gut, but it's so horrible you don't believe it?
Well, that's yeah. Well, I'm just exploring the possibilities.
Is an example of that, though? Please.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to use what's happening, but there's knowing and belief going on right now, and there's people.
Luna.
Yeah.
Donnie was just in the middle of asking if he could step in, and he just started talking.
Sorry, go, Donnie. I was going to actually say, Donnie, I'm going to give you time on your own because we hardly hear you. So go, Donnie. You got the platform.
Oh, I just wanted to ask Sharon a question. Right, if you seen a Bigfoot up in the bush, would you believe it or would you not?
If I actually saw Bigfoot?
Yeah. That's
Good question.
yeah.
If I actually saw it myself, I probably would.
Would other people believe you?
No.
Does that mean you don't know?
No, that means I know, but that means that I saw something that almost everybody else isn't going to believe. But in my experience of being a spiritual person, that's true of almost all my experiences. And I could tell people stories about things I experienced, and I know I'm not crazy, but they are not going to believe me at all. And that's where the power of knowing comes in, because I have to have confidence that I really did experience those events.
And that's intimate knowledge.
Yeah.
It's also powerful because the idea that you process knowing thing can change another belief.
So does that mean that you believe in yourself, what you see?
True, Polly.
Yes.
With all this talk of UFO disclosure coming up, if whether they come from underground, outer space, the oceans, wherever they come from, if aliens suddenly appeared, it would corrupt several people's belief in whatever system they believe in.
Hey, Donnie, I'm glad you brought all that up because we know things that most people don't believe. And we got to hold on to that knowing regardless of what everyone believes because they most probably would never see it to know it.
Yeah, but the trouble is they corrupt it, though.
Yes, it did. And
How many times can we say that belief has been corrupted?
Yes.
Or how many times can we say the truth has been corrupted when they're trying to corrupt our knowing? That's where they'd like to go next, is to make us question ourselves.
And how many times can we say that our knowledge has been corrupted by beliefs?
Well, that's where the power is right now, is that when I come to the point where I believe at this point the jib jab of many people is the line in the sand. And that's where the rubber meets the road. You separate the men from the boys, as they say, right? And you prove who you are. And I agree, it is for me as well. This is the line in the sand for me. And I think of it that way. And I am going to do every single thing I can, physically, emotionally, spiritually, to not go down that road. Because I believe that is they want to corrupt me. If they get me to say yes to the jib jab, then I lose a piece of myself I won't get back. So I have to ask myself that question. So if we go back to what you're saying, Donnie, I think that's why we're all here together, is to help each other
Okay.
understand the line in the sand and empower each other, whatever the line in the sand is or whoever we are, to hang on to our knowing. So we can honor
Absolutely.
your knowing. I can honor what you're saying because that empowers you, but it empowers me too.
Amen. This is good. This is so good. Just now, all this that's been said, it just all is so sensible.
Yeah, common sense.
Yes.
And it's from the heart.
Isn't that
Right.
called knowing?
Heart language. People don't
Yeah,
speak in heart language a lot anymore.
right.
I think, okay, knowing can be the basis for an abundance in a way. So that knowing something, if somebody has a belief that is not uh, in line with what you know, you can still use that belief to advance your knowledge. Like, as it may be a piece of knowledge that you didn't have. It may be a, a belief that can fit into your knowledge, that it just expands your knowledge.
So if I want to say if that's the connection or if belief is the connection between the head and the heart or a separation of head and heart.
Both would be the balance.
Yo, that, you know what? I love that, Jewel. Belief is your head and knowing is your heart. I love that. That's like best analogies I too far on this topic. The difference between belief is in your mind and knowing is in your heart.
I'm sitting here thinking, and there's so much joy that I'm feeling off of everybody that it is a belief that we come here just to be with one another. But what that coming together gives, it gives us something to believe in, to share our time together, to appreciate one another.
Hmm.
It begs the question, or at least it begs the question of what's more malleable, the human mind or the human, what's more programmable, what's more, uh, I would argue that the heart is unmoldable.
Polly,
Because
You're
the
breaking up.
heart is a
innately,
muscle. The heart is a muscle, and the brain is this wet electrical goo. And so they can hijack the brain. They can send messages to the brain, etc., etc. But the heart is a muscle, and the
Right.
muscle
So
have memory. So
beliefs
it's
can be infinitely changed, whereas knowing can't be.
exactly. So you're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct.
I find it fascinating that there's actually like a sort of metaphor dialogue between between
You're breaking up, Polly.
our heart and mind.
We're missing some
Yeah.
of your best words, Polly.
To all work in sync.
Hang on, speak up, please, Donnie.
Yeah, I was just saying that Polly, they all have to work in sync.
It's like a balance, isn't it, between knowing, belief, truth. And for anyone that wants to know, we've already done what is truth in our last round table. So I've watched this discussion, and in the beginning, Polly said about belief, it can be not a good thing. And I felt the energy rise up and rise down about belief. And it's like knowing quells belief. Knowing seems to be the ultimate in belief. The origin of belief, like what makes us believe above knowing? Like what point in humanity because the knowing part, Donnie will understand. When you're in the bush, you go on knowing. You walk around on knowing, not what you believe. You walk around within yourself on what you know about where you're going and where you're walking and what trees you're looking at and the water. It's a knowing. At what point did a belief override knowing in humanity? Because we're struggling right now between belief and knowing. There's a war between the heart and the head, if you want to say it
I would
that way.
agree with that.
Could we track down?
Like I said, always keep open-minded
Mm.
in everything I do and say.
My faith tells me to walk by faith, not by sight. And I'm told in my holy word that the Antichrist will perform signs and wonders so that, even the God's most elect will be deceived. So I have to learn not to trust sometimes what I'm seeing if I'm going to stand in faith for someone's healing, for someone's whatever. I can't, if I'm going to stand for their healing, then in a way, I can't walk by sight. And I have to just believe that God is going to work this together for these people involved. They're good, evil. And I don't know if that even makes sense. But it's hard.
I would say that I would say that in that scenario that belief is required. No, which is kind of so this perspective new me just now, but have no first place.
Holly,
Would that not make it
Holly,
easier
I can't
for you?
hear you because you're going in and out. So I'm catching like every 2 words. I can't understand what you're saying.
Okay, the more beliefs you have,
Thank you.
the more beliefs you have, the less likely you are.
He cut out again.
Yeah, someone don't want you to say that, Polly.
No.
Yeah.
Ollie, you're saying many amazing things, which is why I think they're playing with your internet, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think they cut us off when we get so close to saying something, really amazing.
Yeah.
Well, this isn't amazing, so they won't mess with me. But also, I have to stress that this belief, this walking in faith, is not in any religious tenets. It's in relationship with a living Savior, not religion. They are 2 entirely different things.
Right.
And I'm done now.
They are, I think, Connie, because I feel religion has taken belief and used it as the tool of control and
manipulation
trickery.
and abuse.
Yes, and
Yes.
and the knowing that inside thing is really the true thing. What you're talking about there,
It can
Belief in religion has robbed people of knowing anything.
true.
Yeah.
And it was the Council of Nicaea that manipulated religion to what it is now.
And isn't it funny that we've talked about belief for over an hour now, and now we're hooking a belief up with religion, and straight away it's got this whole different feeling because we all know what they've done to it.
Yeah, turn it into a weapon.
Exactly, and there were some good things about it. I mean, not all faith or all churches or all Bible or all of these beautiful things that are available to humans. Sometimes you need to, since they blank our brains when we come back here, some of us have to start over again, right? And it's like you need this spiritual foundation to kind of link maybe some things in your DNA that you guys were talking about earlier, and to hijack that and to take that away from us.
But spirituality is a belief.
It's almost unbelievable.
Coda?
It is unbelievable,
Off the road, Coda.
except I believe it.
You better go home, girl.
So unbelievable. So what is it? Unknowable? It's like unbelievable. We got to do the next one on knowing.
I also love the idea that not everything can be known, that there remains mystery, that
Coda, come on,
until we have
come on, Coda.
the mind of Christ for me, but you'll call it something else. Well, thanks. I am a good girl, Donnie. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry.
It's okay.
I have such ADD.
On the road.
Oh, I'm just a dog on the road. Okay. Thanks.
It's all good.
Dingo.
Dingo. That's funny. Oh dear.
Oh, I snorted. I'm done. I'm gonna mute.
No, Connie, I liked where you were going with that. That I think two things that you said I really like. That I'm having faith, that or belief that higher self, that there is something out there that's going to help us walk through this
Or other
And-
people.
and help other people,
Mm-hmm.
and that there is mystery. There is mystery, and I don't know everything, and I agree with you. And I think part of me walking around on the planet is learning more.
Okay, I want to kick something in here. What about belief and manifestation?
Like intent.
Ooh.
Right?
I think
Like
belief
intent.
is the most important tool to manifestation. What's
I
like
completely
belief
agree.
in that regard can override knowing.
You think so?
Uh,
You think you?
I can agree with that. It happened to me.
So you think that belief, geared up in its full energy, can manifest, but knowing can't?
No, I think that knowing that your belief can override manifestation is where I was at.
Oh, I get you. Yep.
So like it goes back to like the placebo effect, basically. Like
Yeah.
if you believe the placebo effect works, and then you employ that belief, it works.
Yep.
Belief in yourself is the most powerful tool that's out there.
In a way, I'm almost kind of contradicting myself in saying that belief is powerful.
You're breaking up again, Polly, but the English language is full of
Belief
contradictions.
is powerful.
It is, and it is in some ways, Polly. It is a contradiction from what you said, but I think you're right that you have to believe it to see it, or you have to believe it to see it.
Right.
And so you're absolutely correct. That is an important thing to do to manifest.
So, okay, here's another question. Hopefully, I'm not still breaking up. But if you don't believe something, can you still know it?
Can you give us a example?
Yes. Oh, I think so.
Well, like if you're gonna say, I don't believe this is happening, yet it's happening right in front of your eyes. Does that mean you're blind to knowing it?
Or you're not, or it's not your time to know it, or you need time to process it.
Yeah, or it's like it's almost like some knowledge requires a certain level of belief, and some belief requires a certain amount of knowledge.
Knowing.
Right. So, like, how can you base a belief on no knowledge? That is a rare. Nobody believes anything but zero knowledge. They don't just believe it on blind faith. In my opinion, blind faith is a term that's not accurate because there's, in my opinion, such thing as blind faith. You're basing that belief on something that you.
Unless you're really young, and you might do it then.
Well, in that case, in my opinion, younger, the less likely you are to suspend your belief.
Here, I'll kick one in here. So what happens if you get a vision of the future, right? And you know that it's probably going to come true, but you don't believe it until it happens. And when it happens, you'll go, you don't want to know that it comes true. Like, say it's not a nice vision, you wouldn't, part of you doesn't want to know that it's going to be true.
When it happens, that knowledge.
Again, I think that goes back to experience, because I know there was something that happened in my life just exactly like what you said. I knew that the dark thing was going to happen. There was no doubt in my mind. But I had to walk through it. And it was very hard to walk through it knowing what the end result was going to be. But that was my role. And I figured that the reason I got to know is that I would be more effective as a player in the game that was going on than if I was ignorant. But did I want to believe it? No. But was it true? Yes. I mean, sometimes we know things, like you said, we have this, we've had enough experience on the planet that we walk into something and you know. But sometimes I think your higher self has or your guides want you to experience it anyway.
And that's a brilliant concept, because sometimes knowing requires you to suspend your beliefs. And so beliefs can prevent you from knowing. Because if you refuse to believe something at you right in the face, even because and you don't want to acknowledge it or validate your belief, it's still a knowing sense, because you know that you don't want to believe something, and the reason why you don't want to believe it is because you know it shouldn't be possible. So it's intertwined again. Belief and knowing, two things that can't be separated, like empirically. It can be separated and it can be separated to different degrees, different beliefs. Like we have different beliefs from we all have different. But those beliefs.
Polly,
go ahead.
I don't see why we should have to worry about separating them. The only reason we might consider separating them is because, again, belief has been hijacked and been given a bad name, just like truth.
Yeah,
maybe
that's
part
exactly
part
why
of us.
That's exactly
part of
why
us.
we should separate them.
No, I think, again, I think we need to reclaim our language.
Yeah.
Amen.
I believe
Some of these, I mean, I think these sessions are opening my eyes to the fact that I actually need to reclaim the language for myself.
Me
I
too.
love the word truth. I despise the fact that they've bastardized it, which is what they've done. Or they bastardized and they dehumanized the
That's
word
all
belief.
the dark side can do is mimic. They can't create anything.
No,
So they mimic. And it's always a cheap substitute, hoping
Yes.
we'll buy the cheap fake rather than the real deal.
Yep.
I had to
And
step away for a brief moment, and I came back in, and I think you guys were talking about higher self.
Yes.
And I caught the tail end of it, but I forget the question that I was going to ask, but then discernment came to mind.
Boy, we better have it in these days because the deception is layer upon layer like a spider web. And you better have some discernment because we will end up very confused.
And it's with that combination of higher self and discernment, that's when you define your beliefs, your personal beliefs.
You got to struggle almost. I've had to really challenge a lot of the things I've always believed, even about God. And just, I like that though, because then I grow. It's a struggle to get to where, okay, they fit together now. I get this. And I
So
also
you just
think
touched on something there, Connie. Like belief can be challenged. Knowledge cannot be challenged. But belief can be challenged all day long, 24/7. Knowledge, you challenge it, slap you with and
it can be, knowledge can be challenged, but yeah, it's when you don't want to accept something or it violates what you know to that point, that moment in time. Like when I got paralyzed from the neck down, I was only 24. And who does that happen to except someone in a movie or in some book? Like, not me. And it's like it went against everything I felt I knew about a loving God.
but
So
that's why you shave your head.
I haven't shaved it yet. That was a secret.
I think that the knowledge, the true knowledge that everybody's searching for, I think it's occulted. And if it's hidden, if it's out of sight, nobody knows about it, nobody can question it. And that makes that control by religious beliefs and just beliefs in general that keeps people controlled.
You could almost say, Jules, that belief is manufactured byproduct of knowledge that is used for control.
Yes, I would agree.
Knowledge comes wisdom.
Hang on, Donnie.
Yes. Yes, wisdom. That's a good word, Donnie.
Say that again, please, Donnie.
Well, if you got all this knowledge, you need wisdom to go with it. Like you got to be wise about what you're going to say, what you're going to do, because you've got all this knowledge.
Yep.
Yep.
So that's how my perspective comes across.
Yeah. It's a responsibility.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
That was really good, Donnie. I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because what good is all our knowledge if we don't know how to apply it to our everyday lives? Because that's
Good
where we
question.
live. Every day. We live in our everyday lives.
What is all our knowledge if we don't believe it?
Yeah. But
It's like faith.
Knowledge.
Faith without action is dead. It's no good unless you put action to that belief and then it manifests as something you can see. I'm sorry, I'm just going off in my head.
I totally 100% agree with that.
No, that's good. That's
I
good,
don't even
Connie.
know what I said, so there's
It's
that.
okay. It's okay.
So there's that.
I think wisdom to me at this point also denotes respect. That
Yes.
we don't always get the respect due people who have actually put in the time to learn and to be more than just human doing, the human being versus human doing. And wisdom is respect because we go back to some of the comments I made that Donnie, I know you know things and you've seen things that I have not, but it would be I couldn't even imagine me saying anything like, well, that's not true because I didn't see it. It's like, no, I can honor the fact that you have seen it and that you're willing to share it with me. That's to me is wisdom, like knowing the difference, being able to have again discernment about things you say or things you hear from people, and having the confidence in your own self and not let your ego get in the way. And I think that's where wisdom comes in too.
Yeah.
Ego is a real bothersome thing.
It's interesting that you brought up the term ego. I think that ego has a huge part in deciphering whether or not that you whatever you claim to know or believe is whether or not you know it or is based hugely upon ego.
Right.
Your ego dictates whether or not some knowledge way. And I think that having a good grasp on your ego and how it deciphers information is
Polly, you're going in and
imperative.
out. You're fading in
Ego
and
big
out.
jam.
Ego decides whether or not you believe
Oh.
something, whether or not.
Yes, and I think me struggling with my ego has been one of the bigger lessons in my life is just the whole getting in, like it's like a shoelace I trip over all the time, right? The
Yeah, me
ego.
too.
Yeah. With that ego, you need humbleness too.
Yes, humility. Yes,
And that's wisdom, to have humility and to be in a position of my state. I see the holy in every person if I look for it and want
right,
to see it. And we honor that in each other. We're all made in the image of Creator. No matter
right.
what color we are, no matter, we look like just all darkness. I don't know. You'd have to make that happen, invite that in to happen, to be just so dark that your eyes don't reflect light anymore. They're just like shark's eyes. They're like dead looking,
Yeah,
soulless.
That's another word, happen. Happen, I think, is one of those words that can basically quantify the difference between belief and knowing. If something happens, then it is known. If something is believed, it may happen.
Oh, these things have to be written down on paper somewhere.
They are. There. I wrote them all down.
You did not.
No, I didn't.
Somebody might be tape recording.
Yeah, I mean, this is being recorded, people.
exactly.
Shit.
Yeah, someone should tape this. Yeah,
So that was belief and manifestation, Polly. That's what I was talking about before. Because if you get enough people to believe, because we are gifted beings, we can actually manifest things. And part of what's going on today is a manifestation of somebody's belief or using a belief as a trick, perhaps.
yes, yes.
And getting people to
Hijacking our
manifest it.
energy.
Yep, getting people to manifest it. That's why you got to be careful what you put your energy into, because we do have that gift.
How about using belief as not as a way to acquire knowledge?
Way to acquire what?
Knowledge.
They use our beliefs as a way to acquire knowledge, and we do in the way that we interact with those beliefs that are presented towards us. They gain knowledge about us.
About how to manipulate us.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I agree. Yes, we give away all our secrets to them all the time and our energy. I think that's part of where we are is grabbing all that back, being aware that they're watching us 24/7. And I think that's actually the big learning lesson right now is how we walk through this moment in time,
Yeah.
knowing that we're being watched 24/7, watched, tracked, monitored, tripped over, screwed with, whatever you want to say. And I am very proud of us that we're holding back on some really weird spiritual level. That I'm wondering if even unconsciously and consciously, people on the planet are thinking, I don't want to play this game anymore. I'm sick of it.
Exactly. Yep.
I'm sick of
We're
this.
done.
We're done.
Yep. They
And
pushed a little too hard.
Yes,
And
they
that
did.
last straw that broke the camel's back was when they started beating old people and five
Yep.
police would surround people. I never thought in my lifetime I'd ever see this happen. Like, what is happening to people? They're acting like this is a spirit. This is like a big time anarchy, antichrist spirit, just violence and destruction. And I don't know, just popping off all over the place. And then the
Exactly.
weather popping off all over the place. Whole
It's
villages
because most of
washing
you haven't
away.
been on a reservation in the United States.
Try living on a mish then.
Go on the mish, yeah. Right now, the whole world's trying to sneak off the mish.
Exactly.
We knew, look, this is a belief and knowing. We didn't believe this day was coming. We all knew this day was coming for Naysay and Donnie and me. Our past has shown us what their true nature is, and everybody's just seeing it now. And whatever people believed in the past, they're changing their beliefs, and they're starting to know what we know about
Right.
it. Yeah. Where it goes from now, we have to be careful because our beliefs do manifest. Our knowing, we need to use our knowing to guide us so we can manifest the right things and not what they want us to believe. And that's on many levels.
Right.
Yeah. It's a big education for us, I think, this time. I don't know how to explain it, but you've got, if we look at a paddocks, we've got sheep in a paddock, we've got horse in a paddock, we've got kangaroos jumping around. We're not all in the sheep paddock, and the kangaroos and horses are scratching and going, all right. So how did they get in that position? What is it they believe to get where they are, and we're over here? And we're going to watch it change. And even for us, there's something, a knowing in me, I've got to tell you this, there's a knowing in me that says there's something coming that even I will be spun out on. And I believe, there's that word, I believe it comes from the Creator. I know it comes from creation. So
It means to trust to, cling to, and rely on. It's much more than just a head acknowledgement, belief.
Yeah.
I believe in you is, in the Greek, the root is trust in, cling to, and rely on. That's what I just remembered that little tidbit.
So, Luna, going back to what you said, so you feel like there's something coming that is even going to challenge what you're expecting they're going to do?
I don't feel it's a challenge. I think it's a jaw-dropping moment. My knowing's, how can I put it? The knowing in me knows there's something coming. It's a beautiful thing, right? And it will challenge people, yes, but in a good way. We're being challenged now, but it's a good thing. And I believe, right, because this is just from my own personal observation, that when we face challenges and we find the good in them, we begin to grow and get stronger, and we can overcome whatever it is that is challenging us very quickly. When we see what it's damage, the damage it's doing, we will stay in that vibration of the damage. But when we look at the gift in it, we'll move up into the vibration of the gift. So the gift of what's happening now across the whole world is that we're all opening our minds, our hearts and our spirits and readjusting our beliefs and our values, and looking at people around us that have been readjusted. It's a whole shake-up of things for everybody, no matter what side you're on, if you want to make sides. And it's a good thing. Look what we're doing today is a good thing. It wouldn't have come
It's kind of ironic that enough belief can actually give the gift of knowing. So, like, these two words, belief and knowing, are so intrinsically tied together that you almost can't have one without the other. At least that's the way it's looking to me. Like, they're so influential on them, like, in tandem, that one influences the other and the other that. It's a knowing can change your beliefs, and is if there's enough people believing something, it can change knowledge.
So, yeah, I know I can walk, but I believe I can run. I don't know where that come from, but yeah. All right, where are we at? We've got a bit of time left. Well, now that we've had this big yarn about belief, what is belief? What's the value of belief now that we've looked at everything and talked about it? Is it, in the beginning, Polly, would you stand with your original statement of what belief is?
I guess sort of yes, but in a way I want to sort of augment it and saying that it is almost impossible to know anything if you don't believe it.
They reckon when truth speaks, everything goes silent. So there's a lot of silent pauses in these discussions, so I believe that truth visits us very often. So it has validity, equal validity? Sorry, Connie.
No, it's okay. It's all quiet now. No, somebody dropped their mic or something. I don't know.
Yeah, Polly dropped the mic when he said his statement.
I thought someone was getting knocked around somewhere.
No.
I was on the way putting my cape on so I could fly to the rescue.
I've got to say,
let me give you an example. If I was to come to you with a piece of knowledge and I expressed this piece of knowledge in the most simplified way possible that anyone could understand it, if you didn't believe it, is that still knowledge?
Yeah. Because me and Donnie know, and Nay say, we know things that yous can do, but yous kind of don't believe them, but the knowledge still stands because other people believe it, know it, and do it. And yous are probably doing it without knowing. Oh, that's a head F, isn't it?
No, I can say that Luna is correct with that. I mean, it wasn't until I started yarning and getting to know both Naysay and Luna and everybody else in here, though hearing these stories and then actually applying them and manifesting things, Luna is correct.
You know, these discussions we're having, the one about, we'll try and keep it on belief today, our energy, how can I put it? We're realising there's more to it than what we know, because we would just blasé about, belief knowing. But when we actually have this discussion today, and now I realise it's like there's a pattern to this, a twist and a pattern.
Yes.
It's not a straight line, and I feel if we, in the future, as we have more discussions, we're going to see a picture form. Because we've had rigidity up until now. And now we've lost that, and we're losing that through these discussions, and we're seeing the twists and the flows and the true essence of these words. We're seeing a picture form, and we're all contributing to that. So we all got coloured pencils and we're all filling in a bit of paper. And the picture.
I just think that's one of the most poetic things I've ever heard.
Oh, thank you, Connie.
Did you write that one down, Polly?
I have a pencil sharpener.
That's good.
As soon as I sharpen my pencil, I'll write that one down, Connie.
Okay, thanks.
Well, the discussion for me, the value of belief now that we've had this yarn, for me, I respect belief a little bit more than I did. I always had knowing way further than belief, but now I see how belief weaves itself. I have a bit more respect for it and a bit more caution for it, other people's beliefs, if that makes sense.
It does.
I'm on the same page as you.
Me
I have a
too.
huge amount of respect for the term belief now, more so than before the conversation. So, on that note, I would love to express my gratitude for this conversation.
Yeah.
Really deep, really cool, and hopefully really useful.
I'm in that camp too. I have learned to respect belief.
And I didn't even think that there was a difference between belief and knowing. So this was really enlightening today. I really appreciate the conversation as well.
Yay!
It's just really made my night. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, thank you for showing up and contributing. It's been awesome.
The blast.
Yeah, well, I want to thank you, and we'll round this up now because I think we've given enough food. We've feasted enough on belief. We'll put it that way. So if anyone's...
If I may, Luna, real quick.
Oh, please do. We'll finish it off with Nasa. Beautiful time, Nasa, as usual.
I apologize because I believe right now my heart will be lifted in a very joyous manner because I know I'm about to roll out of my van and go to a powwow where there's over 100 drum groups and over 500 dancers
Oh,
at
Dang.
the Midwinkatonk, Dakota powwow.
I wish I was there with you. I am in energy and spirit. Oh, how blessed.
It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm going to cut it short and say, Miigwech, it's been enjoyable listening. I didn't want to jump in too much because it was so loud around me. But I love you all, and I hope you all not only believe that, but you know it. Toodles.
Toodles.
Yalu,
Love
thank
you,
you, Nose. Oh, how beautiful was that, eh?
Love you too, brother.
I really wish I was with him right now. That'd be awesome.
I think I would be I would be like a little kid with my eyes real big and my mouth just open, just watching it, taking all of it in.
Yeah, me
It
too.
would be amazing.
I'd be jumping up and down. I'd be that little one jumping up and down, going, "Ooh!" Yes, my brother.
So loud around me, but I love you all. I hope you all not only believe that.
Wow, there's a re-echo there. What was
There
that?
it is.
Yeah, what did you want to say, Donnie?
Similar to a corroboree?
Yeah, he's at a corroboree.
Is it similar to our...
Yes. Oh, kinda. Today's powwows, though. Yeah, look at our corroboree. You know when we have. Oh, fuck. How do I? Sorry, I shouldn't have spelled. Okay. When we have public corroboree, yes, not private corroboree. So their powwow is the same as our public corroboree. Does that?
Okay.
Yeah.
No worries.
All right.
We also use the term powwow in North America to describe a sort of private conversation between elites, I guess you could say. Like, hey, we're going to have a little powwow. We're going to have a little chat.
Oh, yeah, I got it. And for anyone that actually listens to this and goes to my page and listens to it, on my page I have People of Wisdom Watching Our World, and that's powwow to me.
I like that.
You like that? People of Wisdom Watching Our World, yeah.
Around the campfire.
Yeah.
That's
On the
brilliant.
campfire.
That's like one of those acronyms. Yeah.
Cool. All right, so anyone will round up. We'll last minute. We'll go through everybody. Nase's already had his say. So who wants to go first, and we'll round up what is belief?
I can't top what Naysay said. He said it perfectly.
True.
And with that, thank you for having me again, Luna. It's been such a blast. And Polly and Nano and Connie. Connie, you should definitely come back more often. You bring a very good positive insight. So with that said, I'm here and I believe that I love you and I know that I love you all.
Love you back. I know and believe that too.
Polly, Sharon?
Yeah,
Um,
I would just love to say thank you to everybody. I would also like to re-wish Jocelyn a happy birthday.
Yeah.
You don't look a day over. You don't look a day over 250,000. And
I would agree
also,
with Polly.
I also would like to give a shout out, and hopefully, I don't know if she's here, but she is actually a member of the community, and her birthday is also today, and that is Lisa. She's an admin
Aw.
KBS. Hopefully, some of you know her. She's in and out very randomly, but it's also her birthday today, and to both the birthday girls, happy birthday. I love you both, and this was one of the best conversations I've had now. Thank you.
Thank you,
Polly.
Polly.
yeah, this was super awesome, and I think I'm actually out of words. My mind is just like full, and I just love these Saturdays where we're able to get together and say things that we want to say and not have to worry about holding back. It's very much a huge special gift, and so thank you everyone for being a witness and listening and allowing everyone here to just speak their heart. I really appreciate it.
Well, there you go, people. I want to thank everyone for joining the table today, and for Polly for having the corner seat. Woo. And I want to thank Creator for making all things possible. And I want to thank you for listening. So we summarised, we realised that there's more to belief than what we originally thought when we started this conversation. And there's things that we believe to be true, and then there's things that we know that are true and we believe them. So I'll leave you with that this week. Love to you all on this day. And hopefully we'll see you next week. So there you go for the round table. Yalu. And see you later. Woo!
Hello.
Yellow.
Stay bright.